What's going on, gang? I hope Mrs. Friends, everybody well. Welcome back to the Built for Pressure podcast with me, Will Foden. I hope we are good. And today, I'm going to be talking about something that I don't think many people talk around. That's how to make more cash in 2025 without losing yourself and your performance in the process. Now, something that I deal with in relation to the customer that I work with and the people that listen to this podcast know that if you're operating at a high altitude already, there is one thing that drives you, and that is financial freedom. That is actually more impact for your company, and it's actually growth, because growth is associated with achievement, and achievement is associated with success. But something that we've come across and something that I've been dealing with for a long period of time in the consulting space is actually those that are losing themselves and their performance in the process. And what I mean by that is what they're doing is they're either losing themselves in relation to direction, clarity, certainty, and confidence in their direction and actions they want to take to implement and do, or what usually happens and what's usually the first part of the puzzle that actually goes downhill is actually the human optimization piece, that physical health, well-being, and then that peak performance trait that most are seeking but actually can't attain that much. So today what I'm going to be going over is understanding how you're going to leverage yourself in your current performance to operate a higher frequency, have more impact, more freedom, make more money, but more to the point, how to actually strategize that and utilize that part of the game of the process. So currently right now, as we're heading in, is now the 27th of January 2025, and there's huge changes happening within everybody's lives at the moment. With the rise of AI and how fast that landscape is changing, how Donald Trump is causing havoc across the news and across the world. And also there's a huge amount of information now out there in relation to everything that you want to achieve what you want to learn more about, what actions you want to take. The amount of people, I had a customer today this morning, she sent me she's talking around using ChatGPT, and that actually is now part of the process in relation to Apple, etc. My point being is the landscape is changing so fast that if you're looking to lead yourself so you can lead others, it's about understanding leverage that. And how you can leverage that long term is a very different ballgame to just asking random questions about your marketing strategy. Because what if I told you there was actually a huge difference between the old way and the new way? And in my space, and something that we specialize in the leadership performance space, is actually helping the person thrive so their performance of profit can follow. Now, what I mean by that is that actually understanding how the you fits inside your human performance is imperative for you to actually to not fall away from what's actually happening in between your ears. I had a huge epiphany when I was younger, realizing that actually the inner game is where the elite side of your performance is found. When it comes down to your physical health and well-being, though, there are certain actions and things that you need to be done that actually help you operate at the frequency needed to create the impact you want, but more to the point, feel happy and aligned with the actions that you're taking. Because what most people in my space do from a performance standpoint is they associate or keep being told more is more. And if they're not succeeding, they're not achieving what it is, it's a discipline issue, or that you're not resilient enough. It's something that I guarantee that most people that I work with and who I've encountered in this space, they're extremely resilient. They've gone through some form of adversity. They've pushed themselves across limits that most people can't really articulate very well. Or more to the point, a lot of it's extremely deep, and what they don't want to do is wallow in it. But the point of being with that is actually the new way of understanding is how to leverage that. The old way is to either push it to one side and pretend that it's never been there, or use that as an indicative driver to go absolutely all in, which usually means most people go absolutely all out. And what I'm going to do today is we're going to frame this quite heavily around the optimization piece, and which is also going to actually give you an understanding around how that's going to have a huge upstream effect to your mental bandwidth and your decision making, in comparison to just telling you, I don't know, whatever. Most people, whenever they talk about money, they talk about business systems and marketing strategies, where I can guarantee that you'll make more cash if you are in a better position to take on more cash and more power, and actually do take stronger decisions. Vice versa, you'll have more impact if you're coming from a place of excitement, ease, and enjoyment than you are from the opposite, which is a case of fear, being all in and having this adversity mindset that everything is a war, where I have learned firsthand that is not the case. So instead of you looking for tactics that will only alienate you, the one thing that you can do to actually create more impact is understand more about you. Because leading yourself in the way to learn new skills and maintain momentum is actually a frequency thing to make more cash. To have more impact, more freedom without losing you is not about just taking on new people. A lot of the time what we see throughout social media is we see a person that we admire and we listen to them, and we're seeing the world through their eyes. And our version 1.1 is currently not going to meet their version 10.5. The issue with that is the gap's so big, it's either going to alienate you or you're going to struggle to maintain it. So here's some simple points and some simple traits that I'd like to go through. Well, we've got 6 written down. And what most people who come to me who are operating from a space of, I want to grow my business, I want to lead my team with more conviction, I want to manage more people more effectively so that they can start making better decisions and take pressure off me even having to babysit them the whole time, all this kind of thing. Most people lean in and looking at business strategy and tactics. Well, actually, my first question to anybody that I work with is, are you optimizing and meeting the demand of the level of the game that you're trying to play at? What I mean by that, it starts with you. It doesn't start with what you're in. It doesn't start with who you work with. It doesn't start with how you work. It works with, actually, where are you at to meet this at the moment? Because the old way would say to you, an example, we'll do an example in a minute about a lot of people that I work with in the business executive space. People associate that get better is just better. Well, actually, or more is better. Well, actually, better is better when it's aligned with the current actions that can meet the demand of you first. And then this is a prime example. We'll take a really simple one. Is when it rolls into point 2. When we're looking at the human first, there are specific human needs that need to be met for you to be operating at the right frequency. Human health and optimization, peak performance principles in times that matter. You being able to leverage your awareness around when your emotions are taking over, or it's actually you're making a conscious decision which is not affected by irrational decision making. And lastly, you're not getting affected by environment. Those are really key traits that you need to start taking in. Now, when we look at we'll do physical training to start with. Most people who are wired like me associate training to smash them into the ground regardless of their situation, regardless of their commitments, and regardless of their personal needs. What most other programs will do to start with, and what most people will start associating when it comes to the physical health and performance space, is they'll associate that you need to be sending it or fucking writing hybrid all over everything, or for you to be identifying as high rocks. This kind of stuff here is the reason why most people can't sustain that level of pressure. I will always tell every single person that I've ever worked with and who I ever associate and walk around and talk around performance is I am consistently good, not occasionally great. And I no longer just associate myself with an identity of a rugby player, for example. I used to smash the crap out of myself because I used to try to feel like I wasn't worthy. What most business executives, leaders, those that are young CEOs, they think everything is a war. Because what you've done is you've worked so hard to get to that position. You've fought tooth and nail to make it happen. And you've been doing it with a chip on your shoulder to prove a point. But if you're trying to win in 2025, I guarantee that old way of thinking and action taking is going to actually not serve you anymore. Because you're not going to, be able to leverage yourself in times that matter. You're not going to be able to improve your productivity and be more effective, create more focus and create more output with create more output without more units of input. It's impossible. What you actually need is an integrated process that's actually assessing your current commitments, your drivers, what you want to do as a person and what you want to live for. Not just live for, what you want to, how do you want to work, why do you want to work and do that, and why is that mission part of your process? You'll have this thing where many people will talk to you about knowing your values and all this kind of stuff. The issue with that, it's quite a frilly subject. But if you actually understand what makes you tick, like I'm achievement driven nearly to the stamp. I am also, authentic intelligence is something for you guys to look into. Authentic intelligence testing shows that my number one trait is hard work. I'm wired for work. That's my thing. I love being in the middle of doing stuff. The reason why I coach the way that I coach is because I love an integrated process and being part of somebody's journey. There is partly a status thing there that I love to see somebody evolve from being this unsure, I'm not really sure what direction I'm doing. I'm into okay, Nick. I kind of train hard to go and, do you know what? Fuck this. I'm putting my stamp in the ground here and I am getting after it because I want to win. And I'm going to win at insert whatever the thing. That's really important to me. But that only stems from understanding more about you. And if we look at it from a holistic standpoint, if you actually understand your current scenario, what your pressure valves are, what your pressures are within your job, within your life, and actually what situations you're in, that's going to be the biggest dictating factor of you to be able to evolve and perform at your best. Not just you sat there in the amount of people coming out of January now that have fallen off the wagon already because they've been told to do an 8-week shred, or they've been told to do a photo shoot, and they suddenly realise that one photo that's covered in baby oil is the most unfulfilling thing you could think about. Yes, let's not pretend to the bodybuilders out there and those that are that way inclined. I am by no means saying you're not disciplined. I am by no means challenging what you're doing. I'm by no means saying that it's not worthy for you. That's up to you. My personal preference when it comes to human performance is long term. My preference when it comes to human performance is that it's a 360 degree zoom out and operational system for anybody that I work with. Because the next piece of that puzzle when it comes down to a mindset standpoint is exactly that, is you're just told to follow the fucking plan. Just follow the plan. And then what happens? You fall off it because your job doesn't let you. You're traveling abroad, and suddenly the wheels fall off because you have no strategy around actually understanding the dial switch, not the light switch of high performance. You can't actually optimize yourself in challenging situations when your kids get sick and stuff, because actually, do you know what? If I'm going to screw it up, I may as well screw it up loads. What the key thing you need to do instead of having that old way hanging about this year, is you need to actually have education around the principles of what's underneath your performance. Those that want to operate at the highest level from a leadership standpoint, from a high performance standpoint, or from any form of peak performance outcome, they need energy, bandwidth, optimization, and understanding. If you have understanding, you have choice. If you have choice, it automatically takes the anxiety away from the decision. This sounds so basic, but so many people are still searching for that one bullet. They're still searching for that extreme level of answer, where those that know high performance, that is in the grey. That is in the day-to-day. That is in your standards and your operational systems for you on a continual basis, have a snowball effect compared to one shot, one kill, one big, here's my 8-week, I don't know, insert whatever, extreme plan. How many of you, I know so many people, especially in the leadership space, that they get in shape because they've decided to do something wild, and then they do the exact opposite and look like a melted wheelie bin. And they're so unfulfilled, and actually they turn into an asshole because they know that they've lost that battle, instead of just taking the long route, which actually the long route is the road that's going to keep you honest. Because what a lot of the time what we see in this old version of think is you then start having your inner critic take over. And what this means is that I'm not good enough. I don't want it enough. I'm not disciplined enough. I'm not good enough. I shouldn't be allowed to achieve that. I couldn't. All this detrimental behavior or understanding around you will associate that with a discipline issue, where the new way of thinking and what's going to happen in especially in 2025 and beyond is recognizing that high performance is about being adaptive and it's not taught about what it looks like. What it is being able to self-regulate yourself on real time in relation to principles of understanding of what that means. An example, I've got a customer of mine who he has travelled 4 countries in a month, and in that period he is in multiple different gyms. For example, we got a big push on physical well-being and health at the moment for him because he's travelling so much. If he turns up to a gym and he is unrested, malnourished, he's a poor night's sleep, he hasn't had any supplementation, he's got all sorts of massive meetings and decisions, and I challenge him to send it and drop the hammer, and he's doing a heavy interval workout, what do you think is going to happen? Where actually, if you start to think of the new way of thing, which is how to regulate yourself, it's a tick list. Am I recovered? Yes or no? What are my metrics saying? Good or bad? Am I fueled? Yes or no? When was the last time I trained? 3 days ago. I surely should try and push myself if I can. I've trained every day this week. Can I have a rest day? When you're in this position, you're starting to coach yourself. Your inner critic will always say that you're not good enough because your world is seen through your emotions. Where what we do, and what people, those that are going to dominate 2025 are doing, is they see that their trajectory is always moving forward and it's moving up. Not necessarily making huge jumps, not necessarily taking over the world in 5 minutes, and not necessarily making insert $1 million now or whatever. What they're doing is, are they getting better, yes or no? If you haven't read a book called The Gap in the Game, what that means is most people measure their success on the gap, which is where they are right now and where they want to get to. There's a huge gap between that, and what happens is that's what alienates them and usually causes them to pause. Where the gain is actually recognizing where you are right now, where you were, seeing that gain, so how far you've come, and recognizing that the traits within inside that process of what it's going to take for you to explore that next level of evolution, for you to grow and see and increase so to the next level, or reduce the gap. What that means is that if you understand that your performance is similar, that you're continually moving forward, i.e. you know that if you're tracking your metrics and your blood pressure is going down, you're winning. Even though your weight may not be going down, that's okay, because there's a plethora of reasons. Vice versa, if you're getting into challenging situations and you are able to then stand up for yourself and we use an NLP framework called pacing, which basically means meeting somebody's energy. If you're in a conflicting situation, and this doesn't mean war, this means like in an office, there is a way of doing this. If you are using physical conflict, it's a little bit different, but it's the same principle. When you are in a conflict situation, you need to meet the energy of the person coming at you, because that's actually what that's going to do, is make them pause. If you shrink, they will devour you. If you go the opposite way around, what a lot of leaders do is they go full Hail Mary and attack mode and full send it, which it's taking me a long time to learn that process myself, because those that know me, I love a good scrap on a rugby pitch. Forgive me. They will know that actually if you can start utilizing that, means that you then understand the game. You're playing in the grey. You're manipulating behavior in a positive manner for yourself and the person you're working with to get a better outcome. So understanding that is imperative, because there are two more things that we're going to talk around here. Are most business leaders or people that are looking to make more money and have more impact think, I have to do it because, and as if nothing else matters. Where actually, the biggest thing for you to distinguish here is understand that everything has trade-offs. A really nice frame for you to take, is something for you to learn and think about here, is that what am I willing to sacrifice? But also, what am I not willing to sacrifice? If you guys are following me on social media, you guys will know that I am massive on exploration. I'm massive on a huge piece of connection with my family, and I would much rather have a deep conversation with somebody than me chase the algorithm on social media. Not because I'm against social media. I think social media is one of the best things that's ever happened to my industry. I just think that it's the most alienating thing for people that want some depth in their life. And right now, when you watch things on there that are built to manipulate your behavior, that for me is not high performance. That for me is not connection. That for me is not exploration. And that for me is not adventure. We're actually taking my boy to the reservoir with my family. That is deep connection. For me to be with a customer who is bootstrapping a business from zero and wants to take it to $50 million in 10 years in the corporate sector, me understanding more about him is imperative, because not only does it make me feel fulfilled, what it does then, it recognizes that everything that we're doing has trade-offs, and I'm not willing to sacrifice on some of them, and some of them I am willing to sacrifice. I would much rather spend quality time with people than doing stereotype fucking little chit chat. That doesn't work for me, because there's too much going on. So understanding your trade-offs is imperative if you want to make more cash this year, because that's going to allow you to make the impact that you want at the times that you want to. And lastly, when I speak to anybody about their performance, I'll always ask them this question. Have you ever achieved this before? And if you haven't ever achieved this before, why? If you have achieved this before, but you seem to have fallen off, also why? Why do I ask that? Most people, when they go into any form of high performance program, any form of education, or any form of thoughtful process around understanding and getting them in a better position, what do? They either change and sustain that level of change because they've elevated their standards, they've put practices into place and built rituals around their performance so that they can sustain that level of frequency, or they revert back to baseline. I've talked this massive in the executive center because I've worked in here a long period of time. Those that are young CEOs who have done dry January, they would have seen more energy, they would have seen better decision making, they would have seen better connection with people, they'd have had improved sleep, they would see improvements in body composition by default, and actually they just feel better. The minute they start drinking again, the minute they start using it as a pressure valve, i.e. my stress management tools to have a bottle of wine with my missus or this kind of shit, then what happens? They revert back to baseline. Their sleep suddenly goes from being great to being terrible. Their energy levels are fluctuating all over the shop depending on how much they drink. Their stress seems to go through the roof, and there's subconscious low-level anxieties all over the shop. And actually, they haven't got the opportunity for them to... excuse me, my computer's going off. They haven't got the opportunity for them to sustain their level of progress, and what do they sink back to where they were before. They then go stay out of shape, they then become more unhappy, they then be less fulfilled in their job, the impact starts to slow down, or they start doing it on purpose because it means they have to actually become something different. That is the biggest issue when it comes down to anything that you're picking in 2025 now needs to be additive to your process, but also has to be sustainable. It is extremely boring someone telling you that. It's extremely boring for someone to say to you, oh yeah, you have to just sustain something very menial, but 1% marginal gains are the thing that's going to keep you in the game this year. So I digress. Key things to distinguish: if you are looking to make more impact, you're looking to grow, you're looking to make more cash, you're looking to have sustained performance across all realms of your life, 2024 and before that is a different ball game. With the way of the world, with the way people are going to be leveraging themselves and how business is going to operate in this sphere right now, if you don't evolve and adapt with it, you will be left behind. And that is not a... People will say, oh, AI is going to take over everything. I firmly don't believe that it is. I think AI is going to allow you to make faster decisions, and I also mean it's going to create so much more bandwidth for you so you can do the things that you love, like me. Barbecue, time with my family, train a bit more, have some more downtime to have really, really high uptime. That's all things that are going to come from the way of the world in 2025. So anyway, I digress. Know, like, and trust, everybody. I hope everybody, if you know anybody that would... like this podcast, please send it on. Just like it, share it, say hello. And if you've resonated with the information and you found it super helpful, we have got multiple different educational platforms that I'm actually running currently, which are for free, which are going to be actually teaching you how to find out the bottlenecks of your performance currently right now. So we have got the Built for Pressure stress test. That is a 3-minute test that will literally tell you nearly word for word your next steps in February. If you'd like a link to that, DM me at Will Foden. Just type me stress and I'll send you it. No questions asked. Vice versa, if this has resonated and you feel that your productivity is shot to shit and you need some help with that, we've also got the Energy Cultivator that I'll be more than happy to send you the link to, because I strongly believe that if you start learning about leverage and learning that productive isn't just being productive, productive is not about doing more, productive is about actually being more focused, and how to do that's imperative with action steps. That training's for you. Anyway, I digress. Thank you very much for listening, gang. I'll catch you next week.